Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Misti series. Today I wanted to show you what it's like to stamp a background stamp, and specifically a background stamp or any sort of stamp, for example, that has a lot of space. I think it's called negative space. Maybe it's the positive space, negative space. I don't know which one it is. I never know the difference. Anyway, I wanted to show you what it's like because normally when doing this, you're going to need to stamp this more than once, and to eyeball a cling stamp is a pain in the ass. Excuse my language, but that's what it is. So I've laid down a scrap piece of paper here because I don't want to waste my grid paper that I have purchased specifically for the Misti because I'm like that and frugal, and I'd rather just use some scrap paper. I'm going to place my card exactly like before. I did line it up, which meant I put the background stamp here and picked it up with my Misti like I did in the first video, and I'm going to stamp this now. And I'm going to run my fingers across. So you don't need to push too hard. I have heard that there's stories of cracking. Don't push too hard and you won't have those issues. And I'm going to go back in and ink those up. As you can see, I don't have a nice impression. And to go back in with any sort of tool would be nearly impossible to get this perfectly lined up. Running my hand across it again. It's getting better. And pretty much it looks like, oops, I only need to go in the middle here. Now I've got my fingers all dirty. Push it back against the corner again, make sure I've got it all right. And look, I have a perfectly stamped background. There is a little bit that I could trim off here, but overall it worked out really, really well. Okay, so my goal of this series is to show you how to make a card in each video using the various techniques that we're trying out with the Misti. And I want to just create simple, very simple videos that anyone can make, or any cards that anyone can make, sorry. So I created a piece here. It measures 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it down in the middle at 5.5 inches. I used my paper cutter to score because I have a scoring feature on it. That's from Stampin' Up! But you can use a scoreboard, you can use a stylus pen, and a ruler, really just any way you can fold it where it has a crisp fold. You can use a boning folder, back of your scissors to fold it, whatever you want. And I'm going to put this slowly together here. Okay, so now that I have my card base, I'm putting my card front on my card base. See, now previously I would always have to stamp my sentiment on this before attaching it to my card, because if I had made a mistake, now I would have to throw out the card base and the card front, where before now I can just restamp using my Misti tool. As you can see, I stamped this on some scrap paper before. I don't mind the flower on the back. I was just testing out a couple of different ideas for this series. So that was the background paper that we had cut out there. And as you can see, it's really quite stunning, the black on white look using that background now that it's used properly. All right, now nothing says classy like a French sentiment, so I'm going to stick my J'adore stamp here, and I want it to stamp sort of on the bottom corner. Now I can grab my Misti again, and you can do this part here with a block without any issues, but as I said, if you end up having it in a space where you don't want it, or you end up dropping it, or you need to double stamp it, it's always difficult, especially with a cling stamp, but also difficult with a clear stamp. I mean, if you got steady hands, by all means. I have pretty steady hands, but every once in a while I do have to throw out a card because of it. So I just inked it up using Simon Says Stamp black ink. I have it in the corner, exactly where I had it before. It's pressed down, and it's stamped with no issue. Okay, so now I wanted to show you a situation in which the reason why you would not put this in the corner and the reason why you would have to use a magnet. You can use a magnet all the time. It does make things a little bit easier, or use 2 or 3 or 4. That's fine. They are thinner than a clear stamp and thinner than a clear cling stamp, so when you stamp and you have your magnet here, for example, and your stamps here, it won't interfere. But I want to, right now, I want to put the Eiffel Tower coming up in a light colored ink from the bottom. Now, if I were to have this in the corner, my stamp wouldn't fit, for example, onto the piece here. So I'm going to stick down my magnet, so it's going to stay exactly here without any issues. And here I can use the grid lines to actually line up not only my card base so that it's lined up perfectly on the line so that it's straight, but my Eiffel Tower, I can line up the feet on the thing as well. And then I would just need to worry about having it center. Now I can go in, I can pick up my Eiffel Tower. It's exactly where I had it before. I'm going to stamp this using Simon Says Stamp Fog ink. And I'm going to push down on the Eiffel Tower. Okay, So now it's stamped perfectly fine. If I wanted to darken up this image, I would just need to ink it up again, push down my flap, all good to go. So that is a really quick, easy, and simple card using the Misti. I'm gonna just go in with a little bit of Wink of Stella, and I'm going to, I just used it with some gold today, so I wanna make sure that that didn't come off. I'm just going to put a little bit of glitter in the flowers here so that it adds a little extra something to that, and a little extra bedazzledness. I mean, you could end up coloring it and making it a really colorful card. Personally, I don't think that's necessary with such a pretty background image, such as this one. It's one of my favorites to use. Now we'll see if you could see the sparkle at all. Not sure if you can see it on camera there, but that's the end of my quick and simple card. I feel like this card needs some sort of touch of red or something like that, but I'm gonna leave it as is and continue on to the next video.